Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today the 28th of March 2014. So in today's news we have a short developer interview and then some interesting tweets from the Blues which cover a lot of different things including engineering, just some general profession things, and just general stuff. It's pretty fun. First of all though, I'm going to pimp the 24-hour live stream, not 24, 12. 24 would be a little bit crazy, that is going to happen tomorrow. It will start at 6 PM GMT, 9 AM PDT, and 12 noon EDT, but of course since it'll be 12 hours, it should be on, at some point during your day. Anyway, with that said, let's move on to the actual news. So first of all, we have an interview that was done with ongames.net. This is kind of interesting. It does cover a decent few things, mainly though the character models and leveling. So first of all, they said that there is no guarantee that all of the character models are going to be finished by the release of Warlords of Draenor, but they hope to have most ready. Now, I'm not particularly sure if this means that they're not sure if all of the Vanilla and Burning Crusade models will be finished, or if they're referring to the fact that they are not planning on finishing the Cataclysm ones by the launch of Warlords. I think that it should be an absolute base requirement for the expansion to ship with the Vanilla and Burning Crusade models being completely finished. Of course, they've already said that they're not planning on having the Worgen and Goblins finished by release, so perhaps that's what they meant here, but if they did actually mean that maybe there's a chance that not all of the Vanilla and Burning Crusade models will be finished, then I'm kind of concerned. Actually, because they absolutely should be there. It's one of the features they touted about with the expansion, so I think it really is an absolute requirement. And, it brings on this kind of further debate, or not debate, just topic, I suppose, in that it seems like they really have missed a part of their mark with Warlords of Draenor in terms of the release. They were saying that it was further along than Mists of Pandaria, and there's a lot of talk about a spring launch, or at least a spring beta. Well, that doesn't really seem to be the kind of thing that's happening. They said that it was further along than Mists, yet it's going to come out in September or later, because that's the fall launch window that they've already talked about. I'm not too sure what's going on over there. I guess they just sort of overestimated their capability to get the work done. That's what we have to assume. But, I don't know, it's kind of concerning. And if it does launch in September, then it would mean that Siege of Orgrimmar has been the single longest raid tier that World of Warcraft has ever had, I believe. Because I don't think anything's been over... nothing's been over a full year. Like, ICC came out in that December, and then I think Cataclysm came out the following December, but it was like the very start of December? Or maybe it was very late November, it was one of the two. Still though, I don't even know. I guess we're going to find out more information as time goes on, and hopefully the beta should be out within the next few weeks. Anyway, so the next thing they said in the interview is that one of the largest things that stops people from coming back to the game is leveling. I think this is absolutely true, actually. It's definitely a bit of a concern, because when people think about World of Warcraft, they think about playing the game with their friends, and they think about doing dungeons and raids and, the endgame stuff. But if you're sitting at level 80 or 85, you're not going to be able to just immediately go into that. And I suppose more importantly, it's not like a free level 90 boost or something like that isn't going to be too appealing on your level 80 character. I guess you might feel like you're losing a bit of value there. So it's a little bit of a quandary, honestly. I think one of the problems is kind of, and I don't want to sound like a dick, but Mists of Pandaria leveling, I think it was really bad. Like, just really, really bad. It felt like such a slog, and you often had these situations where there was just no options in terms of places to go and things to do. It was very linear in that regard. So it's definitely a little bit of a problem for Blizzard, and the question is just, how do they fix this? Well, at least with Warlords of Draenor, they have taken the step of having the free level 90 boost come with the box. That should completely fix this problem, really. But for people who want, subsequent characters, or maybe are just trying to immediately get back into Mists, I'm not really sure what the option is, because I think they might just have to level up and bite the bullet. Still though, it's an interesting question, but I think that in the future, with the level 90 boost coming with the most recent expansion, this should be a problem of the past. As long as you get one character in there, then it's gonna sort of propel people into the end game, and that'll be them back in the game, and they won't bounce off. Then they also said that as times went on, more and more content has been added to the game, but one of the problems is that it's kind of just made it harder for people to catch up once they return. That is actually a very, very big concern, and oddly enough, it's something that I've experienced with just alts that I've left just lying about the place. Basically, classes have got more complex, raid systems and things like that have changed up, and overall, the game is just very different, and when people come back, they've got this massive learning curve. I remember in Mists of Pandaria, just when I've started at I think it was December, yeah, it was the December after the expansion's launch, and I knew absolutely nothing about the endgame, or any of the systems changes, or currencies, or reputations, and it did take me a solid just 3 days, or maybe 2 days, just to work out what the hell was going on, and that's a feeling that's rather uncomfortable for some people. And I guess that's definitely something that could completely just cause them to kind of bounce off and feel, oh, there's too much, and then leave. But the question is, how can they actually fix a problem like this? Well, I think first of all, they should just feature all of my guide videos on the, just in the launcher for World of Warcraft. I think they should do that. But failing Blizzard doing that, what could they realistically do? Well, I guess they could have some sort of NPC who you could talk to, who is like the introduction, who could say, oh hey, these factions need your help, and they probably offer some very good rewards, or, hey, we need your help at the battle at Ashran. Some sort of NPC that people could talk to, who would communicate to them basically what kind of base endgame stuff they should be doing. That's one thing that they could do, and I suppose they already do that to a certain degree at the minute, so I guess that's okay. But then another problem is just class complexity. Now this is the thing that I actually experience quite a bit with alts, and especially with paladins. I have no bloody idea what is going on in my paladin. Not a notion. And that's a little bit of a problem, because I want to be able to play my paladin pretty well at some point so that I can go into challenge modes and get the crazy Power Ranger armor. And, okay, sure, sometimes I'll just bite the bullet, but I think there's definitely some classes where the additional complexity and, I guess, rampant mechanic changes, such as, say, with the Paladin, well, that's just led to people being a little bit confused and the class just being a little bit hard to get back into. How do they fix this? I think just, again, there needs to be some sort of base in-game guide that is maybe a little bit more explanatory than the current one that they have. Just like some sort of primer guide, how to play a Retribution Paladin. I'm not too sure exactly how they would do something like that, or how they would implement it into a way, well, just in a way that would make sense. Like, you don't want to just log into World of Warcraft and then see all these guides and walls of text and things like that, but it certainly is an issue that they have to contend with. MMOs are often very hard to get back into, because things just change. That's the evolution of the game, and if you've been out of the loop for 2 years, it's going to be pretty hard to get back. Now, personally, any time that I've taken a large break from World of Warcraft and it's came back and it's been different, I found that to be really exciting, because it's just new stuff to find out, new mechanics to explore and that kind of thing. But I guess for a lot of people, that is a bit of a problem. Yeah, so if you have any good ideas as to how they could solve this problem, do leave them in the comments. But I think that in Warlords, it should be a little bit diminished with the ability squish and more readable numbers and things like that. Hopefully classes should be a little bit less complex and therefore a bit easier to read. So yeah, I think that's how it's going to go. Then they finally said that they actually looked at significantly increasing experience rates rather than doing a level 90 boost, but they said that it basically just didn't feel that good and the boost was a better option. Now, what do they mean by it didn't feel great? Well, if you would just imagine rolling a level 1 character and give it, 500% bonus XP, just for the sake of argument, what would happen is you would do 3, 4, 5 quests in a zone, then you'd be done, and it would just be an absolute mess. You'd be out leveling places all the time, all the zones would just feel half-finished and very bizarre. So how would they fix this? How would they just, come up with some sort of method of getting people to level up at a greatly accelerated rate? Well, I think what they could do is just cut zones down to the main quest only. Now, I wouldn't say that they should just remove the old quests, but maybe there could be some sort of option or thing you could do where it would incorporate the Warlords of Draenor questing system. Or at least the same UI. If you don't know, in Warlords, the main quest for a zone will be tracked on your user interface. And this means that you could basically just go through an entire zone's main quest and abandon everything else. Well, if they could have some sort of system that would just take you through the Old World, Outland, Northrend, Cataclysm, and Pandaria, just going from main quest to main quest to main quest, so you could experience the full story of all of the zones, but still level up at an extremely fast pace, maybe that would be a good idea. I'm not particularly sure, but hey, it's still an option, it's still something that could perhaps work, that would be a little bit, just a little bit more gameplay friendly than a flat out like 500% boost to every single quest. Though of course, that would definitely take up a decent chunk of development time. I think the level 90 boost was certainly the easy option, but I think it's a pretty good option for players as well, especially with the integration into Warlords of Draenor, and then also the benefits that it has for just helping people to get right back into the game at endgame. Alright, so let's move on to the tweets. These are actually rather interesting. So there's a whole bunch from Jonathan LeCraft, who is one of the profession people over at Blizzard, and first of all he said that there will be a new Blingatron, and that the Blingatrons will in fact fight against each other, and that the owner of the winning Blingatron in a fight will get a bonus. No idea what it is currently though. And of course these Blingatrons do not care about faction, they will fight just about anything. It's a complete free-for-all. That actually sounds really damn cool, so it's nice to hear that. Then he also confirmed that new engineering goggles are planned. I suppose that's exactly what we'd expect, but it's nice to know for sure. Then he also said that engineers recently got the Sky Golem, so they're probably not going to have a new mount ship with Warlords of Draenor, though, well, that's what he said, but personally I would imagine that there is, of course, a possibility of a new engineering mount coming down the line in Warlords. Alright, then next, he said that there's going to be a new item in the game called the Wormhole Centrifuge. It's basically the Wormhole style of item, but what it will do is allow you to pick 2 locations from a list and then send you to one of them. So it's a little bit more useful than the completely randomized one, but it's still not perfect travel. So that's definitely a very nice perk, especially since flying won't be active in Warlords. And I don't know if you'd just be able to pick 2 locations that are like right beside each other and then be taken to one of those, or perhaps these locations will be more spread out. Still though, it's an interesting item, and yeah, perhaps that could make engineering a little bit more of a desirable profession. Anyway, so next, he said that there is a high possibility of them extending the concept of scribes making staves and offhands. Now this essentially just means that there's a good chance they'll allow you to make newer, sort of tier-specific item level ones as you go through the expansion, instead of them just being left at the very first tier. In terms of their item level, that's absolutely something that makes sense, it's something that should be in the game at the minute, and it's definitely great to hear, as someone who is a scribe on my main. That's nice and handy. Alright, so next up we have some tweets from Celestalin, and the first one is for the tanks. He said that active mitigation was a great success, but that they do plan on bringing up a couple of cases where active mitigation wasn't really working well enough. So that's definitely great to hear, and from what I can gather, active mitigation does seem to be a lot more fun. So yeah, overall, pretty good stuff. Alright, so next we have another tweet from him, and basically someone asked if he thinks that the game is a little bit too complex in terms of people needing to go back and just do a whole bunch of homework. And he said that they don't think so, but that no matter what they do, perfect performance will always require that extra effort and research. Although nowadays it does take less time than before to do, say, 90% of the peak performance. Now what does this actually mean? Well, I just think it's a little bit harder to completely screw yourself over in terms of talents and that kind of thing, and I guess that with the Warlords of Draenor ability sort of, not squish, but you know the way they're cutting away just some of the excess abilities and we're just adding complexity but not really that much depth. Well, because of all these things, the game should be a little bit more readable and understandable, so that should definitely just help players play their class at least competently. Now here's the thing, if you are, you know, the top 95% of DPSers, you're absolutely amazing, and you're just sitting there thinking, well, they're taking out complexity, it means scrub knobs are going to be everywhere, you know, beating me or something. Well, no, first of all, you'll still do better, but the benefit is that you'll still benefit in terms of numbers from your additional skill and homework, but then the people who you play with in LFRs and dungeons and just throughout the world will also, well, they'll be a little bit better on average, hopefully. With some of these extra talents and abilities and things like that being removed. So yeah, overall it should work out quite well in my opinion. I think that there's definitely a bit of a problem when you require players to have, say, 30 keybinds to play their character perfectly. Not perfectly, just well. Take my warrior in PvP, I need over 30 keybinds, as it turns out, to actually play decently, and I need to be able to use any one of them at any time. It's literally that much. And that's fine for me, because I am a, quote, hardcore gamer. You know, I've been playing games all my life, it's a thing I'm pretty damn good at. But for a lot of people who are just trying to be a little bit more, you know, chill and casual with it, it's a bit weird to ask for 30 buttons. Now, even if they were to cut that down to 20, which would be a 30% decrease, well, 33% decrease, you would still have a lot more buttons than Guild Wars 2 and, say, The Elder Scrolls Online. So overall, it's still going to be a very complex game, but hopefully one that just is a little bit better in terms of how it plays. Also, I just think that when there's a lot of bloat there, sometimes it just means that the game doesn't play as well. It just feels a bit cluttered and messy. So hopefully this should translate into the game just feeling a little bit better to play. Alright, so last up we have a tweet from Mumper, who is Corey Stockton, and basically he just confirmed that the Prophet Velen will be getting a new model. That's exactly what we expected. He's going to be a very prominent character in Shadowmoon Valley. By the way, if you do care about the Velen storyline in Shadowmoon Valley, don't look at the comments for this video, because I'm pretty sure someone will spoil it down there. Anyway, that is it for today's show. Be sure to tune in tomorrow to the live stream, link in the description to my Twitch page. And with all that said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.